Billions of years ago, there was nothing but silence. No forests, no birds, no sound of footsteps on soil. Only darkness, and a molten world spinning alone in space. But deep in the chaos, the impossible happened. Molecules collided, energy sparked, and something alive opened its eyes, if only metaphorically, for the very first time. A cell, tiny, fragile, and yet powerful enough to begin rewriting the story of Earth forever. It had no plan, no goal, but it had persistence, the one thing that would define life itself. For billions of years, it divided and evolved. Simple cells became complex ones. They learned to breathe, to eat, to reproduce. They learned how to survive. And survival became innovation. Soon, the oceans were alive with creatures, soft-bodied worms, armored trilobites, ancient fish with jaws of bone. It was the Cambrian explosion, the first great blooming of animal life, over 500 million years ago. Predator and prey, hunter and hunted. The dance of evolution had begun. But evolution had bigger dreams than the sea. Life crawled out of the water onto land. Plants rooted into ancient soil. Insects filled the air. Giant amphibians lumbered through swampy forests. And eventually, the reptiles came. Then the dinosaurs. And then, when the age of reptiles crumbled in fire and ash, the small, warm-blooded mammals inherited the earth. Among them was the seed of us. We were still only tiny, nervous creatures hiding from monsters. But our journey had begun. Fast forward to 7 million years ago. Deep in the green heart of Africa, in the shade of ancient forests, a small primate took its first uncertain steps on two legs. It was not human. Not yet. But it was the first hominid, the first branch of the family tree that would lead to us. It had a small brain, long arms, and a face still half ape, half something new. Its name, discovered millions of years later, would be Sahelanthropus cadensis. It had no idea it had just changed the future of the planet. Standing on two legs seemed like a small thing. But it freed the hands. Hands that would one day build fires, shape tools, paint stories on stone, and hold other hands in love, in fear, in hope. As the climate shifted, forests shrank. Grasslands spread. The old world vanished, and the creatures that stayed in the trees began to die out. But those who dared to walk into the open savanna survived. And evolved. Millions of years passed. New species came and went. Australopithecus afarensis, best known from a skeleton named Lucy, walked upright in Ethiopia 3.2 million years ago. She was small, just over 3 feet tall, with a brain a third the size of ours. But she walked boldly across a dangerous world. She probably never imagined she would become famous. She just wanted to survive. And survive she did, long enough to pass on the spark. From Lucy's kind came others. Stronger, taller, smarter. They explored new lands. They hunted, gathered, and adapted. And then, around 2 million years ago, a game-changer arrived. Homo erectus. They were taller, more muscular, with bigger brains and bigger dreams. They chipped stones into sharp blades. They hunted in organized groups. They built shelters from branches and hides. And they discovered something that would transform humanity forever. Fire. Fire was a miracle. It gave warmth in the cold, light in the darkness, protection from predators, and time, precious time, to sit together at night and imagine. Around those ancient campfires, the human story truly began. They learned to cook food, unlocking more energy to feed their growing brains. They lived longer, traveled farther, thought deeper. And they left Africa. Step by step, they walked across the world, through the Middle East into Asia, into Europe. They became the first global explorers. For nearly 2 million years, Homo erectus ruled the earth. But even they were just a chapter, because something even more extraordinary was coming. Around 400,000 years ago, new humans emerged across Europe and Western Asia. Neanderthals. They were stocky, powerful, and incredibly intelligent. They made complex tools, hunted big game, cared for the sick, and even buried their dead. They painted on cave walls. They sang. They may have told stories. They were like us, but not quite us. And then, around 300,000 years ago, in Africa, a new kind of human rose from the savannas. Homo sapiens. We were smaller and leaner than the Neanderthals, but with something they didn't have. Imagination. We could think symbolically. We could plan. We could cooperate in massive groups of strangers. We could dream things that didn't exist, and then make them real. We spread across the earth like wildfire. From Africa to the Middle East, to Europe, where we met the Neanderthals, and eventually replaced them. We didn't just survive. We built art. We carved ivory figurines. We painted dazzling murals deep inside caves where no sunlight reached. We played music on flutes made from bone. We began to tell the story of who we were, even as we were still becoming it. And then, about 10,000 years ago, we made a decision that would transform the planet. We stopped wandering and started farming. The agricultural revolution. We tamed plants and animals. We built villages. Villages grew into towns. Towns became cities. Cities became civilizations. We built temples, pyramids, palaces. We wrote laws. We forged swords. We waged wars. We shaped the earth to suit our needs. And as we shaped the earth, it began to shape us. Our lives accelerated. We invented writing, money, mathematics, governments. Empires rose and fell. Languages blossomed and died. Science, art, music, and philosophy ignited. And then, just 200 years ago, something astonishing happened. The Industrial Revolution. In only a few generations, we transformed from farmers into factory workers, into engineers, into astronauts. We built machines, airplanes, computers, satellites. We created the Internet. We connected the world in invisible threads of light. In the blink of an evolutionary eye, we went from stone tools to smartphones, from fire pits to nuclear power, from wandering apes to the rulers of a planet. And now, as we step into the age of artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, and space travel, our story is no longer only biological, because evolution is no longer something that happens to us. It's something we are beginning to control. We may become cyborgs. We may rewrite our DNA. We may live on Mars. We may live forever. Or we may vanish like all the others before us. But for now, for this brief moment in the history of the universe, we are here. Billions of years of struggle, millions of generations of survivors, have led to you, watching this, listening to the heartbeat of your own kind. This is the story of us, and our journey has only just begun. As Homo sapiens spread across the continents, the world began to transform beneath their feet. They moved through jungles and deserts, across frozen tundras and storm-lashed seas. They faced predators larger than any they had ever seen, saber-toothed cats, giant bears, towering mammoths. Yet they survived, not with claws, not with fangs, but with something invisible, yet unstoppable, their minds. They built traps from sharpened stakes. They stalked herds across endless plains for days until the animals collapsed from exhaustion. They tamed fire, and slowly, they began to tame the planet itself. But their greatest weapon was their ability to believe. Unlike any other creature, humans could unite under invisible banners. Beliefs, myths, spirits, stories. A lion could not convince another lion to risk its life for an imaginary god. But a human could. And that single difference changed everything. In small bands, they crossed the ice bridge that once linked Siberia to Alaska. They spread through the Americas. They carved spear tips from stone, wove baskets from reeds, painted the walls of hidden caves with dreams of bison and stars. And slowly, their numbers grew. Tens of thousands became hundreds of thousands. Hundreds became millions. The earth, once silent, began to echo with the footsteps of humankind. Then, something astonishing happened, not in nature, but in the human heart. They began to settle, to stop wandering, to build. It began in the Fertile Crescent, the cradle of civilization. Between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, humans planted wild grains. They fenced fields. They domesticated goats and sheep. They stored food. And for the first time, they had surplus. With surplus came change. Where once every human had been a hunter or gatherer, now some became farmers. Others became builders. Others storytellers, traders, priests, rulers. Villages rose from mud and stone. Villages became towns. Towns became cities. And civilization ignited like wildfire. In Mesopotamia, they carved cuneiform symbols into clay, the first writing. In Egypt, they raised stone pyramids that pierced the sky. In the Indus Valley, they built cities with straight streets and underground sewers. In China, they forged bronze, charted the heavens, and honored their ancestors. In the Americas, they raised temples in the jungles, aligned perfectly with the stars. And all across the world, they created gods, reflections of themselves, magnified in myth and wrapped in thunder. Civilization gave humanity incredible power, but it also chained them. Laws replaced freedom. Kings replaced councils. War replaced wandering. Empires rose and fell. Sumer, Akkad, Babylon, Egypt, Rome, Maya, Aztec, Inca, each believing they would last forever, and each crumbling into dust. Yet something survived each fall: knowledge. Knowledge passed from mind to mind like a torch, carried across centuries. It burned through the Dark Ages. It lit the Renaissance. It ignited the scientific revolution. And it changed what it meant to be human. For most of human history, life was short, harsh, and bound to the soil. But as centuries passed, humanity accelerated. They unlocked the secrets of motion, light, gravity, electricity. They invented printing presses and steam engines, telegraphs and telephones, airplanes and computers. They mapped the stars. They split the atom. They walked on the moon. In only a few heartbeats of geological time, humans went from stone axes to spacecraft. And with this power came a paradox. For the first time, humans had the ability not just to create life, but to destroy it. World wars scarred the planet. Cities burned. Mushroom clouds rose where children once played. For a moment, it seemed the human story might end in fire. But it did not. Humanity stepped back from the edge and reached further than ever before. They created global networks of light and code, the Internet. They connected billions of minds. Ideas traveled faster than lightning. And for the first time, humanity became one nervous system. What one mind dreamed in silence could be seen by millions in seconds. What one heart feared could spark revolutions oceans away. And now, we stand at a new threshold. For millions of years, evolution shaped us. But now, we are beginning to shape evolution itself. We can edit our genes. We can build machines that think. We can merge flesh and metal. We can upload memories. We can create life in labs and worlds inside computers. The next humans may not be entirely human at all. They may have synthetic organs, silicon neurons, digital immortality. They may live not just on Earth, but on Mars, on moons, on ships drifting through endless night. We are becoming the authors of our own future. But authors must choose the story they tell. Will we rise or collapse? Will we become gods or ghosts? No one knows. What we do know is this: every moment you are alive is built on an unbroken chain of survivors stretching back billions of years. Every cell in your body carries whispers of stars, of oceans, of apes, of fire. You are the universe, becoming aware of itself. And one day, far in the future, when the stars fade and galaxies fall silent, our descendants, whatever they have become, may still remember us. The small, fragile creatures who stood upright, looked at the night sky, and decided to reach for it. The story of humanity has always been a story of becoming. From sparks in the ocean to fire in the night, from whispers in caves to radio waves drifting between the stars. And now, we stand on the edge of something even greater. A transformation not of our world, but of ourselves. For millions of years, evolution moved at the pace of nature. But today, it moves at the speed of human will. We are no longer only shaped by evolution. We are beginning to guide it. DNA rewriting life. In glowing laboratories across the planet, scientists are cracking the genetic code, the very blueprint of life. With tools like CRISPR, they can cut and rewrite DNA like lines of poetry. They can erase diseases carried in our blood. They can design stronger muscles, sharper minds, even glowing skin. Children may soon be born not just from love, but from design. We could eliminate suffering, or create new forms of it. We could build a generation of enhanced humans, faster, stronger, immune to aging. We could make minds that never forget, and bodies that never break. And with every gene we change, we step further from what we were. Robot face the rise of intelligence beyond flesh. But evolution is not only rewriting biology. It is also creating something entirely new. Artificial intelligence. It began as simple lines of code, flickering in dark server rooms. But now, AIs are writing music, discovering medicines, designing spacecraft, creating art, composing poetry. They are beginning to think. Soon, they will design better versions of themselves. And those will design better versions still. An upward spiral of self-improving minds, climbing faster than any human could follow. There may come a moment, perhaps soon, when machines surpass us completely. Not in strength, not in speed, but in thought. And when that day comes, the question will not be if they are alive, but whether we still are. Will they see us as ancestors, or as obstacles? As parents, or as pets? Or will we merge with them? Already, humans are linking their brains to machines. Neural implants read thoughts. Bionic limbs move by imagination alone. People who were blind now see. People who were paralyzed now walk. We are fusing biology and technology, and the line between human and machine is beginning to blur. The next stage of humanity may not be fully human at all. It may be something new, something beyond us, something post-human. Ringed planet leaving the cradle. But even as we transform our minds and bodies, one truth remains. Earth is fragile. Asteroids still wander the void. Volcanoes still rumble. Pandemics still wait in shadow. And above all, the sun itself is dying, slow and certain. If we remain here forever, our story ends. So humanity is reaching for the stars. Rockets rise on towers of flame. Machines roll across the dust of Mars. Telescopes float in the blackness, searching for worlds yet unseen. In the decades to come, we may plant our flags on the moon, our footprints on Mars, our cities on asteroids and icy moons. We may become a multi-planet species, spreading like seeds on the cosmic wind. And someday, we may sail between the stars. We may build generation ships, floating worlds drifting through eternity. We may slingshot our minds as streams of light, riding lasers to distant suns. We may carry the story of humanity far beyond the Milky Way, into the infinite silence. Brain becoming something greater. But perhaps the greatest frontier is not out there. It is within. We are beginning to understand consciousness, the mysterious flame inside our skulls. And soon, we may be able to copy it. Imagine your memories, your voice, your dreams, preserved forever in circuits. A digital soul. You could live inside a virtual world more beautiful than any on Earth. You could wander the archives of human history, speak with the minds of every age. You could watch stars burn and die, without ever aging a second. Immortality, not in flesh but in thought. And if minds can live as light, then death itself may become just another chapter. Balance scale, the choice. But power is not destiny. It is a choice. We could create utopias, or nightmares. We could heal the planet, or strip it bare. We could explore the stars, or burn our home before we ever leave it. Evolution has no map for what comes next. There are no footprints to follow. We are walking into the dark, guided only by the stars, and by each other. The story of humanity is no longer written in our genes. It is written in our choices. And the question echoing through the future is this: what will we choose to become? Shooting star, the legacy. Maybe one day, millions of years from now, long after the mountains have turned to dust and the oceans have boiled away, our descendants, whatever they are, will look back across the abyss of time. They will see the first spark of life trembling in the ocean. They will see apes standing on 2 legs. They will see humans carving tools, painting caves, lighting fires, launching rockets. And they will remember that it all began here, with fragile creatures on a small blue world, who refused to stay small. We were the dreamers. We were the rebels. We were the impossible made real. We were the universe, learning how to wonder. And perhaps that, more than anything, is what makes us human. Time is the silent ocean in which all stories drift, and even the story of humanity must one day sail beyond its horizon. We have walked the long road from dust to thought, but the journey is not over. Not yet. Because if our past has been about becoming human, our future may be about becoming something more. High voltage, the dawn of the post-human age. In the coming millennia, if humanity survives its own power, our descendants may no longer be flesh and blood. They may be minds of light, consciousness woven through networks of diamond and plasma, bodies sculpted from living nanotech that can change shape like a dream. They will not age. They will not hunger. They will not fear. They will carry the memories of humanity as a single bright spark in the endless night of the cosmos. To them, our wars will seem like the tantrums of children. Our nations, like forgotten villages on the shore of history. Our lives, like a first heartbeat in the womb of time. They will look back and see Earth not as a home, but as a cradle. And cradles are meant to be left behind. Ringed planet children of 1,000 suns. These post-human civilizations will spread across the stars like seeds on solar winds. They will build cities the size of continents floating in space. Rings around stars. Spheres enclosing suns. Dyson structures capturing the full power of entire stars. They will move planets like chess pieces, sculpt solar systems into art, and weave gravity like thread. Light years will shrink before them. A journey that once took millennia will take moments as they bend space and ride the waves of warp time. Their empires will stretch across thousands of suns. And yet, they will no longer need sunlight at all. They may live on worlds of frozen gas, or inside the black void between galaxies, feeding on starlight, dark matter, or energy ripped from the vacuum itself. Brain minds vast as galaxies. As their technology grows, their minds will grow with it. Each being may contain more thoughts than all the humans who ever lived. They may experience centuries of dreams within a single heartbeat. They may create whole universes inside their thoughts, simulations so real that even they forget which worlds are real and which are imagined. They will shape matter and time as easily as we shape words, and yet, in the quiet between stars, they may still whisper the same question that echoed in the minds of our ancestors. Who are we? Because even godlike minds will still carry the echo of what we were. The flicker of firelight on cave walls, the beating of a human heart, atom symbol, the edge of physics. But even they cannot outrun eternity. Stars will burn out. Galaxies will drift apart, swallowed by the dark. Atoms will wither. Time will stretch thin, like glass about to break. This is the long death of the cosmos, the heat death, the end of all motion, when even light itself goes dark. And yet, even then, our descendants may endure. They may upload themselves into particles, hide in black holes, or slip between dimensions to escape the crumbling of reality. They may fold the fabric of space into endless loops, recycling time itself like a beating heart. They may ignite new universes as easily as we light a match. Milky Way beyond the end. If they succeed, then long after the last star fades, long after the last atom decays, long after the universe itself has gone cold and silent, there may still be thought. There may still be memory. There may still be us, not as we are now, not as bodies or names, but as patterns of light, woven through the void, immortal, eternal, endless. We will become the architects of new realities, the dreamers of newborn worlds, the first gods of the next creation. And somewhere, in the quiet halls of that new universe, a spark will remember where it all began, with the beating heart of a small fragile creature, on a blue world, wrapped in starlight, sparkles the last human memory. And when the final mind drifts into the dark, as the last echo of humanity fades, perhaps they will leave behind one final memory, a picture of Earth, bathed in golden sunlight, the sound of ocean waves, the laughter of children, the rhythm of a human heartbeat. That heartbeat will echo forever through the silence, and in that echo we will be immortal, because evolution is not about survival. It is about transcendence. It is about reaching beyond what is, toward what could be. It is about looking into the void and saying, "We will not vanish. We will become the stars." The universe is vast, cold, silent. Billions of years passed before anything stirred, before the void dared to dream. And from that dream came us. We were never supposed to be here. Not really. We were accidents of chemistry, children of chance, born from the dust of dying stars, and the quiet hunger of time. Yet somehow, we opened our eyes. We saw light. We saw each other. We saw the endless black above us, and whispered, "Why?" Water waved the first spark. It began with a trembling bubble in a warm ocean, a single molecule copying itself, against impossible odds. It did not know it was alive. It did not know what alive meant. It only endured, and in enduring, it became everything. It became coral reefs and forests, insects buzzing under ancient skies, great beasts walking on thunder feet, and tiny shrews hiding from the dark. And from those trembling shrews came hands, and voices, and minds that could remember. We were the memory of the world, made flesh, brain the awakening. When we rose from the grasslands and stood on two legs, the universe changed forever. We learned to shape stone, to kindle fire, to carve our hopes into cave walls, so they might outlast the night. We crossed oceans on fragile rafts. We mapped the heavens with nothing but our eyes. We built cities that kissed the clouds, and machines that whispered across the void. We split the atom and lit the darkness of the moon. With our footsteps, we dreamed of gods, and then began to become them. High voltage, the age of becoming. We rewrote our own code. We built minds out of light. We reached across the black sea of space to seed new worlds with our breath. We were no longer the children of Earth. We were its voice, carrying its story to the stars. And when our bodies grew frail, we shed them like old skin. We became light, data, energy. We built empires from starlight, cities around suns, worlds of thought and memory. We became endless. Ringed planet, the long silence. But time is a patient hunter. Stars burned out. Galaxies grew thin. Atoms slowed like tired hearts. And still, we endured. We folded space like paper. We weaved new universes from dying light. We scattered seeds of mind into the dark, so the story would never end. Even as the last star faded, and the night closed in, we whispered to each other, "Remember, Milky Way the echo." And when at last, even time itself grew thin, and the final mind drifted into the deep quiet beyond all things, it carried one memory, just one, not of power, not of empires, not of glory, but of a world of blue and green, of rain on leaves, of firelight dancing in gentle eyes, of the sound of a human heartbeat. That heartbeat was the first music, the first prayer, the first spark, that dared to dream of more. Sparkles what we leave behind. Perhaps someday, somewhere, in a newborn universe, lit by unfamiliar suns, another spark will stir. It will not know where it came from. It will not know who we were. But in its pulse will echo the rhythm of our hearts. In its hunger will burn the spark of our wonder. In its eyes will glimmer the memory of home. And though it will never know our names, it will carry our legacy, because we were the first to wonder, the first to reach, the first to say, we can be more. Dizzy, we are the universe remembering itself. We were never separate from the stars. We are made of them. Their ashes burn in our blood. Their light glows in our eyes. The universe made us, so it could know itself, so it could see its own beauty, reflected in our gaze. We were the mirror. We were the voice. We were the moment. The cosmos woke up. Glowing star, the final line. So if this is the end of the story, let it be said simply. We were born from stardust. We learned to love. We dared to dream. And we became infinite. We were the universe, learning how to wonder. If this story made you see our universe a little differently, stay with us. Subscribe so you never miss the next chapter of our journey. Like this video if the story moved you. And tell us in the comments what part spoke to you most. And now, I leave you with a question. What will you choose to remember when you think of where we came from? The next evolution story is coming soon. Wait for it, and wonder with us.